All right, guys, we're moving on. So the Hollywood pay gap has been a fascinating story for me the last couple of weeks because every time I read a story like this, it's like, what is their new thing that they're promoting? They have to complain about something. So there's a couple of them here. And then there's one that ties it all together in a positive light at the end. So the first one here is from Sharon Stone. She says she was paid $500 to make Basic Instinct, and Michael Douglas had made $14 million. Boo-hoo, Michael Douglas had 2 Oscars by that point. What all of these stories have in common are people that don't know how to negotiate for a better contract, aren't kind of forceful enough to push for what they feel like they're deserved. There's also this story from Kelly Ripa, who basically says it took 10 years for her to get paid properly in Hollywood. It 4 years on the live show, like the morning live show with Kelly Ripa, took 4 years to get in office. They kept telling her no. They wouldn't give her an office. And finally, they cleared out a janitor's closet for her after 4 years. And I just don't think that most male stars who are of that stature would take that. They would just walk.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you tell to people like this who are also now using it as a form of currency? They have a way. So they were mistreated when they were younger because either they had bad agents, they signed bad contracts, or they just didn't understand how the industry worked because they got in at a time where they got big very quickly. So they were able to be taken advantage of because they didn't have enough years in the industry to say, look, I know how this works. I'm not taking this. What kind of message are they sending for the future of kids when they make it about either equality, racism, sexism, and not about being a better business person? Mm-hmm. Like, you have to be a better business person if you want to be in that industry.
Yep. I think it said something about like not having a bathroom and having to wait in line with the guests to the show to go to the bathroom as well.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, whereas Regis from Live with Regis and Kelly had his own bathroom because he's the star of the damn show. They both should have had one, but I think it's kind of well known that a lot of where the gender wage gap comes from is actually a gender earnings gap, and it's because women are less forceful in negotiating phases and they don't want to actually rock the boat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and with like mistreatment, it might be if you're tolerating it, but who knows? Did she speak up about that right away?
No, not right. Like, eventually she basically said that like it took years for this to happen, and she pointed out that it wasn't until they got a female executive at Disney that got her fair pay on the show. And I said, look, if you had renegotiated earlier, you could have done this for yourself, but they don't want to because it allows them the opportunity to complain about it on the internet. Right. And it's not just that. Ernie Hudson talked about how they couldn't have paid him less for Ghostbusters because he wasn't as big of a star as Dan Aykroyd or Harold Ramis or as Bill Murray, right? Sure. So what do these people do when they get older? Do they make it easier for younger people? No, they complain. And that annoys me. Yeah. The other thing is they make it about issues that become a problem for us. So they're making it about sexism. They're making it about racism. They're making it about inequality, and they keep conflating equity and inequality anyways. And it becomes something that we have to worry about because it awfuls read articles like this and think society is worse than it is. When really it comes down to the fact that Hollywood is a cutthroat industry full of people that just want to make money, and they're not willing to compromise. As they can't if they're putting the money up to front these properties. There's also this story from the show Blue Bloods where the cast just took a 25% pay cut so they can continue making the show.
Based.
That is super cool. Yeah. Like, imagine how much you might have to actually like your work and want to do your work to be able to say, look, I love the people I'm working with. I will take less money if it means we can keep making stuff. And conservatives, and I'm assuming there are conservatives in this chat, it's one of the few shows that's actually considered in favor of conservatism. They do scenes in this show where every episode, the whole family, it's also the Reagan family, which is, I love the name, very clear callback, where they have dinner. They sit at a dinner table and they talk about whatever is going on in that episode's case, and they present all sides of the argument about whatever that case may be. Sometimes that includes police brutality, instances of racism, he said, she said cases between men and women. And since all of the family members get to present a side supporting or denying either side, no one side is presented as clearly right or clearly wrong, which is a very, very rare thing to see in Hollywood these days. I don't know if any of you watch anything that you've seen recently where you could imagine that they were telling you one side wasn't necessarily the right one.
No.
Everything's gotten
very, very
political.
polarized.
I'm watching the new season of You, and like, man, there's at least one woke line per episode where it's like, caught it, I hear you.
Like
That's
what?
you're well, man, I'd have to go back and think about it. But
there's always one line
there
that
is-
clearly
yeah,
sticks out to you.
right.
And that's the key to it. Like my
there's a
favorite
whole episode in the last one.
My favorite definition someone gave to me recently said, like, because I hate that word. I hate the word woke in general. But said it's like it's basically you know it when you see it. Like you couldn't define it to someone because it's been made purposely undefinable. But for a lot of people, as long as like you know when you're seeing it on screen, even if you can't necessarily put it into words.
Oh, I do remember one.
Okay.
I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but he's a teacher in London or something like that. And
Yeah.
you know how he talks in his subconscious voice?
Yeah.
He walks in and he's like, oh, they're culturally appropriating a queer poet, something like that. Like it's,
They talk like college professors or people.
College
They don't
students.
talk, and they don't talk like human beings.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing I noticed is that they write things as if you're writing a response on the internet. So people are speaking to you as if in a way that you would type, not actually say. I'm actually far better at typing my my thoughts than I am at speaking. One of the hardest parts about doing this job is that I'm not actually all that good at speaking. I'm actually much better at articulating what I'm trying to say if I have the ability to write it out and actually organize my thoughts
Yeah, I
more
am
clearly. In a far more cogent manner than I'm able to do here.
I think everyone is, though.
Yeah. I think
especially
also
these
you're
days.
better at speaking than you think.
I
too.
struggle with it. I've been trying to eliminate more of the filler words, but that's very hard when you're trying to do all of this at the same time. I struggle with that. But
Yeah.
for a lot of it is like you're going to notice that dog. That's why that line in the Batman upset me so much.
I knew that was coming.
Because but there's more than that.
Yeah.
There's a lot more examples of that.
Oh,
when they
yeah.
start using words that sound academic and it's done with a character that doesn't have a previous background of speaking in an overly academic manner.
What was
Right?
the line?
In the Batman?
Yeah, I haven't seen
She says white privilege in
No.
in a movie that doesn't have any other dialogue like that, so it's extremely jarring and takes you out of the moment because
Right.
no other characters talk like that.
Just a reminder that you're still in America in 2023.
Yes, well, that's the thing. The movie feels evergreen as far as time. It doesn't feel like it takes place in any specific time period.
Right. No, I agree with you that the line is jarring, but it's one of those lines where I thought about it and I was like, okay, it makes sense for this character to feel that way in this moment,
Yeah.
given what her storyline is.
Maybe it's I
Got
just
a
find her
Sanity
storyline
Claus
annoying.
super chat.
We got a
Got
super chat
another
there.
$20 super chat from Sanity Claus. I like that name. Don't pat them on the back for taking pay cuts. They have mandated pay raises every season by union till the show gets priced out of existence. They are simply responding to market forces to keep their job.
But most of those actors have been on that show for over 9 years. They could very easily let that show go and, network
on.
TV is where you make the money. Like, network TV is where actors of a certain caliber are going to make a lot of money. And that shows in syndication, which means there's high, they're getting residuals on all that stuff. They could be done and retire. And none of them would have to work again if they didn't want to. But if they like doing their work, if they're willing to take a pay cut for it, I can applaud that. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I'm not in any way, saying that like actors are amazing people or that they're doing it because they're such generous human beings. I'm just saying it's a nice break from
Yeah.
break
Yeah,
from
so
what
there's
we
no
see normally.
generosity involved here. It's just like keep the show on the air. It's not like
Yeah.
But thank you for the super chat.
Also,
Sanity.
guys, this is a weird aside. Go watch Blue Bloods if you haven't seen it.
My mom does.
It's a procedural. It's boomer television in a lot of ways.
mom's
But
a boomer.
if you watch the first 4 to 5 seasons, you're going to see a lot of social issues covered that are very hot topics right now that they would not dare touch these days, like things like police brutality, racism with law enforcement. And it's going to be probably the last example you're going to get of a show covering that in an even keel way that's not going to feel hand-fisted and over the top. Right. So that would be my recommendation. Go ahead and check that one out. I think it's actually pretty good. Also, somebody in the chat says Man of Steel is a masterpiece. Do you agree?
that it's a masterpiece.
Do you think it's a masterpiece?
I don't think it's a masterpiece. I think it's quite good.
You like it a lot?
It's all right. Yeah.
See, I always had no problem with it, and I always thought it was fine. But now that I'm watching Smallville, I'll take that Superman over the. Granted, he's not Superman yet, but I will take that version of Superman over.
See, I like the Brandon Routh Superman.
Dude, fun fact, never seen it.
I don't think the movie's that great. I think
It's
he's
also
great.
been kind of. It might be on HBO Max, but it feels like that one's been kind of like memory
a
hold
little bit, yeah.
because it's got Kevin Spacey in it.
And it was directed by Bryan Singer.
Well, here, why don't we tell everyone here why that's a bad movie? Because if you wanted to have like a cast of like really, really bad people that are going to get you in trouble with the public nowadays, hiring Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey at the same time is not a good idea.
No.
Not a good idea.
No.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.